Welcome back to Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire with two M's. Let's turn some pages together. I'm really excited to be back, guys. It's been a minute. It's been a rough minute. Don't question why I'm wearing horns. This is what's just happening today. We are just doing this today. Alright, I'm super excited for this story. Without further ado, one eye, two eyes, and three eyes. There was once a woman who had 3 daughters, the eldest of whom was called One Eye, because she had only one eye in the middle of her forehead, and the second 2 eyes, because she had 2 eyes like other folks, and the youngest 3 eyes, because she had 3 eyes, and her third eye was also in the center of her forehead. However, as 2 eyes saw just as other human beings did, her sisters and her mother could not endure her. They said to her, "You with your 2 eyes are no better than the common people. You do not belong to us." They pushed her about and threw old clothes at her and gave her nothing to eat but what they left, and did everything they could to make her unhappy. It came to pass that 2 eyes had to go out in the fields and tend the goat, but she was still quite hungry, and because her sisters had given her so little to eat, so she sat down on a ridge and began to weep so bitterly that 2 streams ran down from her eyes. And once when she looked up in her grief, a woman was standing beside her, who said, "Why are you weeping, little 2 eyes?" 2 eyes answered, "Have I not reason to weep, when I have 2 eyes like other people, and my sisters and mother hate me for it, and push me from one corner to another, throw old clothes at me, and give me nothing to eat but the scraps they leave? Today they have given me so little that I am still quite hungry." Then the wise woman said, "Wipe away your tears, 2 eyes, and I will tell you something to stop you ever suffering from hunger again. Just say to your little goat, 'Bleat, my little goat, bleat. Cover the table with something to eat. And then a clean, well-spread little table will stand before you with the most delicious food upon it, of which you may eat as much as you like. And when you have had enough, and have no more need of the little table, just say, Bleat, bleat, my little goat, I pray, and take the table quite away. And then it will vanish again from your sight." Then the wise woman departed, but 2 eyes thought, "I must instantly try and see if what she said is true, for I am far too hungry." And she said, "Bleat, my little goat, bleat. Cover the table with something to eat." And scarcely had she spoken the words than a little table covered with a white cloth was standing there, and on it was a plate with a knife and fork and a silver spoon, and the most delicious food was there also, warm and smoking as if it had just come out of the kitchen. Then 2 eyes said the shortest prayer she knew, "Lord God, be it with us always, amen," and helped herself to some food and enjoyed it. And when she was satisfied, she said, as the wise woman had taught her, "Bleat, bleat, my little goat, I pray, and take the table quite away." Immediately the little table and everything on it was gone again. "That is a delightful way of keeping house," thought 2 eyes, and was quite glad and happy. In the evening, when she went home with her goat, she found a small earthenware dish with some food, which her sisters had set ready for her, but she did not touch it. Next day she again went out with the goat, and left the few bits of broken bread which she had been handed to her lying untouched. The first and second time that she did this, her sisters did not remark in it at all, but as it happened every time, they did observe it, and said, "There is something wrong with 2 eyes. She always leaves her food untasted. She used to eat up everything that was given her. She must have discovered other ways of getting food." In order that they might learn the truth, they resolved to send One Eye with 2 eyes when she went to drive her goat to the pasture, to observe what 2 eyes did when she was there, and whether anyone brought her anything to eat and drink. So when 2 eyes set out the next time, One Eye went to her and said, "I will go with you to the pasture and see that the goat is well taken care of, and driven where there is food." But 2 eyes knew what was in One Eye's mind, and drove the goat into high grass and said, "Come, One Eye, we will sit down, and I will sing something to you." One Eye sat down and was tired with the unaccustomed walk in the heat of the sun, and 2 eyes sang constantly, "One Eye, are you awake? One Eye, are you asleep?" Until One Eye shut her one eye and fell asleep, and as soon as 2 eyes saw that One Eye was fast asleep and could discover nothing, she said, "Bleat, my little goat, bleat. Cover the table with something to eat," and seated herself at the table, and ate and drank until she was satisfied, and then she again cried, "Bleat, bleat, my little goat, I pray, and take the table quite away." And in an instant all was gone. Two Eyes now awakened One Eye and said, One Eye, you want to take care of the goat and go to sleep while you're doing it. In the meantime, the goat might run all over the world. Come, let us go home again. So they went home, and again Two Eyes let her little dish stand untouched, and One Eye could not tell her mother why she would not eat it. To excuse herself, I said I fell asleep when I was out. Next day the mother said to Three Eyes, This time you shall go and observe if Two Eyes eats anything when she is out, and if anyone fetches her food or drink, for she must eat and drink in secret. So Three Eyes went to Two Eyes and said, I will go with you and see if the goat is taken proper care of and driven where there is food. But Two Eyes knew what was in Three Eyes' mind and drove the goat into high grass and said, We will sit down and I will sing something to you, Three Eyes. And Three Eyes sat down and was tired with the walk and the heat of the sun, and Two Eyes began the same song as before and saying, 3 Eyes, are you waking? But then instead of singing, 3 Eyes, are you sleeping? As she ought to have done, she thoughtlessly sang, 2 Eyes, are you sleeping? And sang all the time, 3 Eyes, are you waking? 2 Eyes, are you sleeping? Then 2 of the eyes which 3 Eyes had shut and fell asleep. But the third, as it had not been named in the song, did not sleep. It is true that 3 Eyes shut it, but only in her cunning to pretend it was asleep too, but it blinked and could see everything very well. And when 2 Eyes thought that 3 Eyes was fast asleep, she used her little charm. Bleat, my little goat, bleat. Covered the table with something to eat, and ate and drank as much as her heart desired, and then ordered the table to go away again. Bleat, bleat, my little goat, I pray, and take the table quite away. And 3 Eyes saw everything. Then 2 Eyes came to her and waked her and said, Have you been asleep, 3 Eyes? You are a good caretaker. Come, we will go home. Then they got home. 2 Eyes again did not eat, and 3 Eyes said to her mother, Now I know why that high-minded thing there does not eat. When she is out, she says to the goat, Bleat, my little goat, bleat, cover the table with something to eat. And then a little table appears before her covered with the best of food, much better than any we have here. And then she has eaten all she wants. She says, Bleat, bleat, my little goat, I pray take the table quite away. And all disappears. I watched everything closely. She put 2 of my eyes to sleep by using a spell, but luckily the one in my forehead kept awake. Then the envious mother cried, Do you want to fare better than we do? The desire shall pass away. And she fetched a butcher's knife and thrust it into the heart of the goat, which fell down dead. When 2 Eyes saw that, she went out full of trouble and seated herself on the ridge of grass at the edge of the field and wept bitter tears. Suddenly the wise woman once more stood by her side and said, 2 Eyes, why are you weeping? Have I not reason to weep? She answered, The goat which covered the table for me every day when I spoke your charm has been killed by my mother, and now I shall again have to bear hunger and want. The wise woman said, 2 Eyes, I will give you a piece of good advice. Ask your sisters to give you the entrails of the slaughtered goat and bury them in the ground in front of the house, and your fortune will be made. Then she vanished, and 2 Eyes went home and said to her sisters, Dear sisters, do give me some part of the goat. I don't wish for what is good, but give me the entrails. Then they laughed and said, If that's all you want, you can have it. So 2 Eyes took the entrails and buried them quietly in the evening in front of the house door, as the wise woman had counseled her to do. Next morning, when they all awoke and went to the house door, there stood a strangely magnificent tree with leaves of silver and fruit of gold hanging among them, so that in all the wide world there was nothing more beautiful or precious. They did not know how the tree could have come there during the night, but 2 Eyes saw it had grown up out of the entrails of the goat, for it was standing on the exact spot where she had buried them. Then the mother said to One Eye, Climb up, my child, and gather some of the fruit of the tree for us. One Eye climbed up, but when she was about to get hold of one of the golden apples, the branch escaped from her hands, and that happened each time, so that she could not pluck a single apple, no matter how hard she tried. Then said the mother, 3 Eyes, you climb up, and you with your 3 eyes can look about you better than 1 Eye. 1 Eye slipped down, and 3 Eyes climbed up. 3 Eyes was not more skillful, though she tried. The golden apples always escaped her. At length the mother grew impatient and climbed up herself, but could not get hold of the fruit. Could get hold of the fruit no better than 1 Eye or 3 Eyes, for she always clutched empty air. Then said Two Eyes, I will just go up. Perhaps I may succeed better. The sisters cried, You indeed, with your 2 eyes, what can you do? But Two Eyes climbed up, and the golden apples did get out of her way, but came into her hand of their own will, so she could pluck them one after the other, and brought a whole apronful down with her. The mother took them away from her, and insisted of treating poor Two Eyes any better than this. And instead of treating poor Two Eyes any better for this, she and One Eye and Three Eyes were only envious, because Two Eyes alone had been able to get the fruit, and they treated her still more cruelly. It so happened that once, when they were all standing together by the tree, a young knight came up. Quick, Two Eyes, cried the 2 sisters, creep under this, and don't disgrace us. And with all speed they turned an empty barrel, which was standing close by the tree, over poor Two Eyes, and they pushed the golden apples, which they had been gathering, under it too. When the knight came nearer, he was a handsome lord, who stopped and admired the magnificent gold and silver tree, and said to the 2 sisters, To whom does this fine tree belong? Anyone who would bestow one branch of it on me might in return for it ask whatsoever he desired. Then One Eye and Three Eyes replied that the tree belonged to them, and that they would give him a branch. They both took great trouble, but they were not able to do it, for the branches and fruit both moved from them every time. Then said the knight, It is very strange that a tree should belong to you, and that you should still not be able to break a piece off. They again asserted that the tree was their property. While they were saying so, Two Eyes rolled out a couple of golden apples from under the barrel to the feet of the knight, for she was vexed with One Eye and Three Eyes for not speaking the truth. When the knight saw the apples, he was astonished, and asked where they had come from. One Eye and Three Eyes answered that they had another sister, who was not allowed to show herself, for she had only 2 eyes like any common person. The knight, however, desired to see her, and cried, Two Eyes, come forth. Then Two Eyes, quite comforted, came from beneath the barrel, and the knight was surprised at her great beauty, and said, You, Two Eyes, can certainly break off a branch from the tree for me. Yes, replied Two Eyes, that I certainly shall be able to do, for the tree belongs to me. And she climbed up, and with the greatest ease broke off a branch with beautiful silver leaves and golden fruit, and gave it to the knight. Then said the knight, Two Eyes, what shall I give you for it? Alas, answered Two Eyes, I suffer from hunger and thirst, grief and want, from early morning till late night. If you would take me with you and deliver me from these things, I should be happy. So the knight lifted Two Eyes onto his horse, and took her home with him to his father's castle, and there he gave her beautiful clothes and meat and drink to her heart's content. And as he loved her so much, he married her, and the wedding was solemnized with great rejoicing. When Two Eyes was thus carried away by the handsome knight, her 2 sisters grudged her good fortune in downright earnest. The wonderful tree, however, still remains with us, thought they, and even if we can gather no fruit from it, still everyone will stand still and look at it, and come to us and admire it. Who knows what good things may be in store for us? But next morning the tree had vanished, and all their hopes were at an end. And when Two Eyes looked out the window of her own little room, to her great delight, it was standing in front of it, and so it had followed her. Two Eyes lived a long time in happiness. Once 2 poor women came to her in her castle and begged for alms. She looked in their faces and recognized her sisters, One Eye and Three Eyes, who had fallen into such poverty that they had to wander about and beg for their bread from door to door. Two Eyes, however, made them welcome and was kind to them and took care of them, so that they both, with all of their hearts, repented the evil that they had done their sister in their youth. Alright, where's the, Oh, yes. First off, it's like, Mom, we have a magic goat. We got this dope magic goat that gives us food better than we have here. And the mom's like, what? Two Eyes can't have it. Let's murder it. Instead of, like, utilizing it. It's like, we have a magic goat. Not anymore. We don't. No. If we can't have it, nobody can. We could have had it, though. Really? Oh, also the whole song thing. It's like, it's a spell. No, you're tired and singing sounds nice. That's not magic. It's comfort. It's really not that complicated. But also the whole thing, it's like, yes, the third eye was not mentioned in the song. So he was like, I'm offended, so I'm not going to fall asleep to that. Because that's how that works. No. Hey, all I have is 2 eyes. Who am I to judge? Who am I to know? But I'm pretty sure that that's not how that works. Okay, the rest of this, I read this story. I have an overarching theme. We get how this works. The mom, 1 eye and 3 eyes. They all didn't like 2 eyes because she was normal. She looked like everybody else. She acted like everybody else. And I've said time and time again, things are not easy, especially if you are different from other people. But can we sit here and talk about, life sucks for me, and then turn around and say, not for you though, because you're normal. Does that make sense to you guys? Because that's what's clicking in my head. There's a song, it's called Homecoming Queen by Kelsea Ballerini, something. I'll put it down in the description. And it goes along the lines of, nobody's crying, nobody feels sorry for the homecoming queen. Even though her life ain't a picnic either, but just because she looks like she has it all together, she looks like everybody else. She has 2 eyes instead of 1 or 3 or 4 or none or whatever the issue was. The issue was that she looked like everyone else. And they were like, we're not doing that. Not in my house. So, this is hard. Because that can get abused a lot. Where it's like, everybody has their differences, everyone's special. But it can be hard when, on the one hand, yes, everyone is different, and people go through a lot of things that you cannot pick up on, and people's lives are hard in ways you can't imagine, and what's hard for them might be like small potatoes to you, but that doesn't mean it's still not hard for them. It's all about perspective. But on the other hand, it can be really hard when people that you perceive and you're like, you're perfect, you don't have any problems, you got 2 eyes, and then they go and they make a joke, or they're like, oh yes, I totally have this problem, and you're like, no you don't. So it's a hard situation. Mostly because, I'm gonna say it, we don't understand what everyone's going through. Heck, I don't even understand what I'm going through half of the time. Let's be real. Let's be totally real here. So I guess what I'm saying is stop judging the people who look like they got 2 eyes. Like metaphorically speaking, but also literally, metaphorically speaking. If you look at someone and you're like, they have 2 eyes, their life is so easy, look at me with my just 1 eye, or my 3 eyes, or 3rd arm, I don't know. Whatever you think your problem is, and you look at someone and you're like, you don't deal with that. First off, maybe they do. You just don't know it. Second off, maybe they really don't. But they also got crap going on, and from their end of the stick, their stuff's really hard too. And how would you like it if someone looked at you and said, you obviously don't deal with whatever you're going through? You wouldn't like that. You don't like being judged. Unless you do. And okay then, but most people don't like being judged. Especially falsely judged. So don't judge the two eyes. That's what I'm trying to get across. Don't judge the normal people. Because they deserve love too. And everybody deserves love. Even though nobody's normal. Yeah, nobody's normal. It's true. Alright, my Grimmlins. Thank you for joining us for another Happily Ever After. Or not so happily ever after. That's up for you to decide. What you decide is valid. Because you're valid. You are. Either way, this is the end for today's episode. So tune in later, and we can learn more and turn new pages together.